Welcome to Speaking Prowess, the show that supercharges your communication and fuels unstoppable success. Sifu Rafael, visionary founder and world-renowned master instructor, elevates leaders into unforgettable communicators who command the room and inspire action. Alongside him is Scott Schilling, the authentic connector, a business growth expert with 40 years of experience, empowering audiences to rise higher, succeed faster, and thrive with purpose. Together they bring you the strategies, insights, and inspiration to amplify your voice, expand your influence, and unlock your true potential. This is Speaking Prowess. Your journey to communication mastery starts now.
5, 4, 3,
Good morning. Actually, good afternoon, Bethany. How are you today?
Still it's morning for me, but I'm doing well. How are you, Sifu?
I'm exceptional, getting better today. And you definitely are way prettier than Scott, and I'll tell him that too.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you for stepping in. Scott is actually traveling because he and I are going to be meeting later on. And I'm going to Philly, and we're doing an event there together. Jose is going to be there, a bunch of different incredible, powerful people. So I'm excited for that. But I'm super excited the fact that you said yes to being here with me. And we have an incredible guest coming in. So let's bring her on. Amy, welcome to Speaking Prowess. How are you?
I am simply magnificent. Thank you kindly for inviting me. I'm deeply grateful to be here.
So I said good morning, and then I retracted it because for me it's now afternoon. It's 12:03. What time is it for you?
It is 12:03 for me as well. I'm a little further south down in Florida, but I know New York is just as glorious.
Mm-hmm. And Bethany, tell us about where you are and how glorious is it over there? Because I know where you are. Oof, it's really
I'm in
powerful.
Idaho, and it is 10:03 in the morning, and it is a beautiful morning. It is a beautiful day. I was in my garden earlier, and I don't know, it just makes me happy.
And I love today's topic, the power of authentic communication. And I even call it conversations, right? Because there's so many different ways that we can communicate. We can communicate without saying a word. And the other day, I actually had a bunch of leaders with me, and I said to them, okay, I want you guys to all communicate without any words. And they were like, what? And they were like, no. And somebody said, I said, no words, 0 words. And now I had this exercise for them. Because sometimes we always assume, and you know what happens when that happens, that people communicate the way you communicate, but not always, right? I've had a lot of deaf clients actually over the years, and it's really interesting when I'm able to communicate with them. And including blind clients. I've had all kinds of clients, and every one of them was just so beautiful. And so communication for me is such an important factor in our lives. Tell me what that means to you, ladies.
Oh my goodness. Bethany, go, because I can feel your wheels turning. That's the communication I got. She is radiating. Go, my dear.
Well, I love the concept of communication because my background is actually with children. And you have to understand that children are communicating immediately as soon as they're born. And you get to learn that. You get to learn through their body language, which actually is most of what communication is. And you get to learn how to communicate without words from an early, like if you're a parent, you get to have that experience. And if you actually are really observant and get to take that, you can now use that new skill that you just got of learning how to communicate by just observing in different ways, because it is all about the body language. That is the number one thing about communication. And you just, what Amy was saying, like my wheels were turning because I'm like, oh, I know. Oh, I can talk about communication. Because it is crazy, because then you just like, you keep going progressively. Think about a toddler. You're like, they're probably tired or hungry because they're literally on the ground throwing a tantrum. You realize these communication things. And then you think about as we get older and we're like, oh, she's probably just hangry because something is up. You are able to start. I mean, really, it's all the same. Realistically, it is the same. It just shows up a little bit differently. And but it's all about our body language. That is the first thing that is communicated all the time. And I often will talk about how our bodies and our minds are connected. And if you want to actually have good communication, you have to look like you're trying to also communicate.
Mm-hmm. So good. Oh my goodness, Bethany. Such a pleasure to be here with you and Sifu. Sifu, this topic is phenomenal. And I so agree with Bethany. I was taught very young that who we are is defined before we ever open our mouth. When we walk in the room, whoever we are being in that moment is what that first perception comes from, not at all from the words. And I am a firm advocate that communication rarely has anything to do with words. That's the fluff stuff, right? That's where it comes from. It's more about that space of identity and presence. Nervous system. Is somebody really tense and walking in and anxious, or are they commanding the room with their power, or walking in with their arms open with love for whoever happens to be in the room? And it's those unseen patterns that drive people to make the decision as to how they want to receive or perceive you, because we know the power of perception. Absolutely. But yes, this topic really excites me to dive deeper than the normal answers of it's all about what you say and how you say it. Ultimately, that's really the last piece that anchors the feelings, the experiences, and conversations.
Love that too. I got to tell you, Bethany, when you brought up, it starts from birth, basically. So true. And somebody, I don't remember where I saw it, but somebody said there's a baby language, right? Babies say certain words without saying the words. It's certain sounds that say, I'm hungry, I'm dirty, I'm sleepy, all these different things. And it's funny because sometimes you see the same sounds in adults. It's really interesting. And then I saw another video. I'm always looking for things that really change and amplify the way we communicate. And somebody was talking about cats, that they have a way of communicating. It's the way they meow. It says something. They want something. And I was like, wow, that's pretty fascinating, because somebody took the time to listen. And I think that's one of the biggest keys also to communication is the listening aspect. Because a lot of people, and I'll say this 1,000 times in almost every show, because the word listen, if you flip it around, is also what? You flip the words on, it's be silent, right? It's the same letters. So in order to listen, you can't speak. And so I teach that a lot to especially youngsters, because a lot of times they're trying to speak when I'm speaking. And I'm like, are you listening? No, you're not. So it's important for us to use all the modalities that's allowed us to be there. So we have the idea of seeing somebody's body mechanics, their facial expressions, the way they put their shoulders, they lean, their hands, all these different things. And so when communication really sets in, it's about taking it all in. I'm going to leave it there, but I want you to consider also, I talked earlier about I've had clients who are deaf and I've had clients who are blind. So they can't necessarily have the same facilities that we have. So they have to adapt. And that's power right there.
Oh my goodness, Sifu, I have to jump in. That is so good. I love the power of silence and was just having a conversation with one of my communities the other day. And I love how you said it's a matter of not speaking in order to listen. And I'm going to take that even one level deeper. It's not simply that you're not speaking, you're also not thinking at the same time. Because when you're thinking to already provide an answer, you technically don't hear a thing that is being said to you. And truly being open to receive or genuinely be interested in the individual that you're communicating with is so powerful. And the end result is so dynamic. I love that so much. As well as the mention of your clients that have been deaf or unable to see. I have beautiful children that love the power of ASL, American Sign Language. And the doors that opens is so magnificent to not necessarily learn a different language, but indeed it is a different language. And wherever you go in the world, the ability to open that door to someone who doesn't have those faculties is truly divine. And the neat part about those that are limited is that the faculties that they do have are so refined, far beyond even our own capacities to be able to envision and see in those calibers. And so I really love those elements of the communication piece. But I think what's even more interesting is those that are limited, they adapt out of survival. But those of us that have all of these gifts, my question would be, why do we suppress our communication in fear or feel like we have to over-explain or feel like we're unseen and not be able to stand in our truth? And I know the answer, but I definitely understand that there's some powerful perspectives in that space. Why is it that communication is so broken or so misunderstood? Because these pieces are not being utilized accordingly.
I want to talk to that one. Can I talk to that one? Because from what I've observed in my years of teaching, we have become such a quick, instant gratification, just society. We really are. We feel like the faster you are, the better you are. The quicker you can have it, the better. And fast, 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 fast. And even when you think about like being a parent, I mean, I have 6 children as well. And, you know, you think about being a mom, you're like, okay, please put your shoes on. And you've got to breathe. You have to like breathe through it. You're like, they must experience these things. But we are programmed to be fast, 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 fast. But where the real power is always going to be in the pause. And we forget that. There is power in the pause. And that is where true communication lies, because you have that moment to observe. That is where intelligence lives. Like that is where everything is right there in that pause. When I'm talking to people about conflict resolution or anything, it is about the wait time, the pause time. When you can actually take that breath, get out of that emotional need it now moment, you respond so much more beautifully than reacting. You respond so much more aligned with who you are than just the, oh, whoops, that was a mistake. Sorry, let me take all that back. Because you're able to just center yourself. Because we are a reactive nation now. We are just reactive, but we've been trained to be reactive because we've all become dopamine addicts and we have to have it now.
Yes.
Well, I'm in New York. Fast, 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 fast. So sometimes when somebody comes in and they try to tell me something, I'm like, stop, breathe.
Yeah.
Take a breath. Slow it down a little bit. I know whatever you saw may have happened fast, but I want to get all the details. I don't want to miss it. So slow it down, start again, because I missed half of it. And you're right. We have to sometimes allow other people to understand that, whoa, slow down. I'm not at your pace. And everybody who's in sales says you have to match the pace of your client. And I argue with that. Because if your client is very fast paced and they're spitting all this stuff out and you try to match the pace, you're not going to catch the details. So you may have to say, hey, listen, I appreciate you telling me all this. Could you slow it down so I can get it?
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I'm not in your brain. I don't mind read, right?
Mhm.
And so, yeah, communication is such an interesting and integral part of who we are, how we communicate, the words we say. And sometimes, and it's very interesting because sometimes we have to tell somebody, wow, what you said doesn't match what your face is saying. So let's communicate there. Why don't you connect the two so we get an idea? Because you look very miserable and you're telling me you're happy. Let's deal with that for a minute.
Oh, Sifu, that is so good. Oh, I love that because it's those patterns that we find that if we frustrate people every time we speak with them, that's really a mirror of ourselves and the pattern that we're repeating in our own communication. Are we listening? Are we showing up in our identity that we want to be present? I think one of the most powerful things that even though I learned it as a child, that I have implemented it with so many clients is the power of think, the word think, the acronym THINK. First of all, is it true? Whatever I need to say in this very given moment, is it true? H, is it helpful? Is it going to offer a win-win to both people in the room or who we're discussing? I, is it important? So many things. Is it really, truly important? Ask yourself that. N, is it necessary? Are we going to get from where we are right now to where we desire to be with this information, or is it going to cause a vicious cycle? And finally, K, is it kind? Are we in the world to be right, to allow our egos to shine and have to sit in that space of it's about me? Or are we open to learning something new, receiving something, and possibly even be triggered to look at ourselves in a new way to figure out how we can communicate even better? So I love what you said. Oh my goodness. And I see Bethany smirking, and I know exactly what it is that she can add to that conversation.
I always have too many things, and it always shows on my face. Always shows on my face. I'm like, oh, just be patient. But I have to say that when we are trying to communicate, we forget that communication is a two-way thing. We forget that. We forget that we don't have the same perspectives. We forget that we have to have like a conversation. Oh, my light just fell. Oh, well. Anyways, but we forget that it has to happen both ways. And it's really important that it does. And the other piece that we forget is that we have to have grace because we have to understand them. And so many times when we're trying to communicate, we'll come into it with our own ideas and what we think has to happen and what we think needs to be. And because of that, we're not listening. And that's the other piece of communication. We're not pausing. We're not taking that time to get that information back. But when we do, the growth that happens, the beauty that can bloom when we see things from another perspective, when we can see things from somebody else's eyes, it is beautiful. And we forget that. We sometimes just have blinders on and want to just like live in our own little world with our binoculars, and this is all we see, but there's so much more beauty. And when you open yourself up to that and open yourself up to other people and their perspectives, it's just beautiful. And we forget the other side.
You made me think of, there's two words I wrote down, right? One is deposition, and the other one that you just brought up to my attention is dictatorship.
Mm.
When there's a dictatorship, there's only one side of the communication. And I was in a group, and it was a business group, and there was a gentleman that started talking about how his wife cannot go shopping, and even if she's buying groceries for the house, if she spends above a certain amount, she's in trouble. I'm like, what? I said, yeah, she is not allowed to spend about, at the time it was $100. And I said, but she's buying groceries for you guys at home. She's not allowed. She has to call me to confirm that it's going to be okay. I'm like, oh my goodness. And he was in a position where he wanted to grow his company. And I'm like, oh, you'll never grow. I didn't say that to him because, it wasn't my place. But in my mind, I said, you will never grow because you have a dictatorship. And dictatorships, listen, especially because you live in America, right? There is an opportunity that she has, and she'll eventually say, I've had enough of this dictatorship. I'm going to jump ship and go find peace somewhere else. Because can you imagine you can't go shopping for your family, for their food, and you can't spend above a certain amount, otherwise you're in trouble? Wow. So that's what made me think of that. And the other one is deposition, right? So that word is when somebody's going to go to a trial, something like that. I had a mentor of mine, an incredible guy who was a jury selector. He was called in for like extreme high cases where it was one of them was a $2 billion lawsuit. And he, through the depositions, through all this, he picked the jury. And he would tell them this was good, this was no good because of the questions they asked, right? So questions matter. And in this particular case, it was a $2 billion lawsuit. And they didn't listen to him. And it went against everything because he said, listen, in the deposition, this witness said this. And when you ask him a question, even if he says he never said it, it's in the deposition and that's already, it's going to come out.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no way you can put this person on the stand. And then the big head of the firm said, nope, we're doing what we want to do. You just were selecting the jurors. He said, okay. It was a $2 billion loss. Because the words matter. Once you say it, especially in a deposition, and be careful, everybody, hold your words. Now, when I spoke to this gentleman, there were so many pauses in his one sentence that every word landed like a bomb. It was beautiful, and it was so calm, and it was because he was making sure that we were both on the same page. And that was so beautiful. And the time that I was able to spend with him, he was 82, and he says, Rafael, because that my title is Sifu, so my name is Rafael. He goes, Rafael, he goes, I'm giving you 1 year of my life. And his wife is laughing at the other end. He goes, because I don't know if I'm going to be here for the next year, but I want to give it to you for the next year. And his wife is laughing. She goes, he's being funny, so I hear her in the background. But the man, genius. And the fact that he taught me so much about the spoken word and the fact of pausing and listening, powerful stuff.
Oh, I love that, which is really interesting that that's come full circle because Bethany, you had mentioned when you speak words, the inability to take them back, right? And so when that evidence is there, how essential it is for the thought to happen before our mouths open. And in communication, there is a reason why we have 2 ears and only 1 mouth.
Yes.
There is so much power in that space. And I love the perspective of knowing that there's so much more for us to learn. If we speak first, we're only sharing our current knowledge. We, in order to learn and grow and expand into more of our own greatness, it's picking where we get that information from. Where are we taking nourishment for our mind, for our heart, for our emotions? Who is it that we're encircling in our environment to accept and give permission to that nourishment to come into us? And that piece, to me, I think is so imperative, that everyone is so quick to watch and scroll, watch a movie, sit and scroll through their social media, sit and watch all the rest of the world instead of taking their own responsibility for themselves and getting distracted by those pieces. But ultimately knowing if that's what we're nourishing our soul with, what do we expect the outcome to be? So how are we communicating and giving ourselves the things that we desire to then turn around and serve with, lead with, love with? And those pieces are so essential to be consciously aware of at all times, because those mistakes, when we let them out, sometimes it's digging out of a really deep hole for a while.
I love that. There's a object lesson that I would do actually for this. And I would get a tube of toothpaste and I would talk to whoever I'm talking to about communication. And all of your words are like the toothpaste that comes out. And as you're squeezing it out, if they're not nice words, you can't put those things back in that tube. There's no way you're going to put toothpaste back in a tube. And when you think about, everything just comes out, and it can either be super beneficial and be cleaning your teeth, or it can be not great and make you gross mess, but it can't go back. You decide what you're going to do with it. And it's when you think about how communication has been broken down, because we aren't pausing as much. What can we do to increase this? What are things that we can do to bring this back? And one of the things that I would really encourage, and my kids do not like this because they're like, Mom, stop Montessoriing us, blah, 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 whatever. They're all big now, adults, most of them. But no, communication has to happen both ways, like what I was saying. And sometimes there has to be something to facilitate that. And in a Montessori classroom, we call it a peace rose. I don't know if you know this, but whenever there's any type of upset or anything, you teach this the very first week of class. And what happens is you have a rose, and whoever's holding the rose is the one that gets to communicate and talk. And if they're not holding the rose, they don't get to talk. And then you pass it back and forth, and you get to have that communication, and you have to hear each other. And it's so important to be able to hear each other. And that's how that communication has to happen. And you teach that very, very early. And the cool thing is as you get to observe it, whenever anything happens, they run and they go get it themselves. There's no teacher facilitating anything. They're just like, you just literally took my thing. I'm going to go get that. And he holds it, and they know you have to be respectful. I did not like it when you did that. Oh, your turn. Well, I really wanted to play with it. And they get to have that communication and talk it out. We are not practicing these things anymore. We don't need to have roses to hold, but we do need to hold our tongues. And that is what we do need to hold. And we're not doing that anymore. We're too quick. And communication is such a beautiful thing. It can grow us in so many beautiful ways. We just have to take that time to be able to do it correctly.
So good.
You made me think of thorny tongues for some people.
Yeah.
And some people have thorns. Let me share with you what's happening and why this is going to be an important part, because similar to what we're doing here, there's going to be a bunch of us doing this in our summit coming up. So let me share this with everybody, right? And look at the beautiful people on this here, but they're not just beautiful on the inside, they're beautiful on the outside as well. So they have beauty all over. And the sharing that's going to happen at the summit is going to be powerful. It's 7 hours. And if you get the VIP ticket, it's almost 9 hours. So let's do it, people. It's the summit. It's August 21st from 8:30 a.m. Eastern to 3:30 p.m. Eastern. And then for those of you who get the VIP ticket, there's going to be an additional 90 minutes of Q&A and all this crazy stuff. So I will put that link up here for you guys to take a look. Man, and these two beautiful young ladies are going to be in the room with us, sharing nuggets and nuggets and nuggets. And Dennis, thank you for joining us from China. Yes, love it when you join us, Dennis.
So good, Sifu. I love that. And let me tell you, I am so excited for that event. As we talk about communication, the beauty and diversity of having that many powerful individuals in the room to communicate in the ways that they've been gifted. The beautiful piece of authentic communication is that even if you've observed, been trained, programmed, and conditioned in certain ways of communication, you are always in choice to pick the form of communication you desire to use. Just because we observe it doesn't mean we need to repeat it. And it is so essential that when we communicate, that we are being true to ourselves, we are being honest and in integrity for what it is that radiates from us. Because once we say it, it gets attached to us. And if it's outside of that alignment piece, then it's a matter of going through and trying to fix or repair something that may have left someone in a space that we didn't understand the responsibility of. So as I sit and am so excited to watch all of the powerful leaders that are going to be in that conference, man, oh man, am I open and excited to watch the presentations, the pouring, the leadership, the ways that have molded these souls to take choice of how they choose to communicate in this magnificent world.
Look at Scott. He's watching us from 3,500 feet. You go, Scott.
Hey,
See you
Scott.
soon, brother. See you soon. Be safe. And yeah, it's pretty incredible that technology allows that to happen. That's another part of the communication aspect that we should also consider, because the way we communicate in person, but the way we're communicating now through technology, the fact that Scott is fun. I hope your arms are not tired when I see you later, Scott, all that flying that you're doing. So think about the communication aspects. And when you talked about connecting, both of you connecting, the deeper connections we can make, the aspect of the flower, right? And like I said, I can see some people with thorns in their tongue because all they have to do is spit out venom in it, almost like they're snakes. And I know people like that. But I always have been told, how come you love everybody? I said, because one time they were babies too. They were babies and they were beautiful. And so it's what taints us along the way we were communicated with, the way we were treated, and then all of a sudden the way we're treating others. So it's really, really an important aspect to consider children. And I have something that I teach children too, just quickly, and it's about self-defense. And we don't do it as adults, right? I have self-defense classes all the time. I'm having one June 6th. And what I always teach the kids that we forget as adults is communicating to the person who may be abusing us. So the kids learn sign language. What does this mean? Stop. So they go, stop it. And then they take all their fingers, because when you point with one, the other ones are pointing to you. All their fingers point back, and they point to themselves this time. And they go, I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they're telling them about their feelings. They're telling them to stop and tell them their feelings. The third component of that self-defense aspect is to tell them it's not okay. And they say, don't do it again. Notice all the fingers are pointing to the person. Don't do it again. And the fourth most important element of that self-defense for children, and if you have children, please share this part, tell an adult. And I share why it's so important to tell an adult, because I'll play the bully and I'll go to a kid and I'll stop them before they say number 4. And then I'll go hit another kid, and then I'll hit another kid. I'm not really hitting kids. I'm doing this, right? Or I'm pushing them. But because, somebody's going to say, oh, he's beats up kids. I do not. So, and then all of a sudden, if there's 20 kids, I touch every kid. I went like this. I push them. And then I go, what did all of you forget to do? And they're like, number 4, tell an adult. And I said, why is that important? And they're like, just because? I said, no, there's a reason. Because the first person that tells an adult stops me from bullying the next person.
Yeah.
So I'm teaching kids to communicate their feelings, but I'm also teaching them to communicate when there's danger, for them to tell other people and not to hold it in.
Mm-hmm.
I've had situations where parents come in and go, please talk to my child. They're being bullied on the bus, or this is happening, that's happening. And I'm like, but I do this all the time. They're like, yeah, but they think they're going to get in trouble. And so now I have to go into a deeper conversation is, you're not in trouble. If anything, I will back you up. I'm your instructor. Your parents will back you up. I said, and if it comes to a point where you actually have to put your hands up and defend yourself, do it. Do it. Because guess what? These are communication tools too. But this is the best one.
Your words are very powerful communication tools, especially if you know how to use them. And I think that we forget that our words are powerful. And to teach a child, or to teach even an adult, because so many times even as adults, we forget that our words hold so much power. There's a story. Can I tell you guys a story? Can you hear a story? Okay. It's a children's story, of course, because it's my whole life in my brain still, just a big kid. But it is so cool because I would teach this story, and now I've actually, as I'm teaching adults, I tell the same story. But it is about communication and how important it is and how important our words are. And it's these 2 daughters, and this is, magical fairy time. And they live in this house with their mom, and their mom says, I need you to go down to the river to go fill up the bucket with water. And the one daughter goes, oh, I am not doing that. You want me to do that? I'm way too good for that. She's just too good. But the other daughter's like, I'll go do that. So she goes down to the water and she fills up the bucket. And while she's there is a not nice looking lady. She's all hunched over and, she smells bad, holy clothes. And she says, will you please give me some water? And she doesn't see what other people are seeing. And she leans over and she gives this woman some water. And of course, she turns into a beautiful princess. And she said, because you are so kind with your words and your actions, because your words and your actions go together. Every time you speak, beautiful things will fall from your mouth, like diamonds and pearls and rubies. And she disappears. And so she goes back home and she goes, Mom. And as she did, beautiful things fell from her lips. Well, of course, King's sister's like, well, I want that. Why can't I have that? So she runs down there. And of course, all she sees is this not nice looking old lady. And she's like, will you give me some water? And she goes, oh, no, go away. You are gross. Stay away from me. I'm waiting for a fairy princess. Ugh, all the things. And poof, she turns into a fairy princess. And she said, because your actions are not kind and your words are not kind, they match. So not ugly things will fall from your lips every time you speak. And she went home and she opened her mouth and mud and snakes and frogs and spiders came out of her mouth. And she ran away into the forest, never to be seen again. End of story. But it really shows you that when you are kind with your words, your actions follow. And you can tell by how somebody speaks, by how somebody acts, what their character is. And we forget that that is a huge part of communication. Yes, it is body language, but it is very much so also how are you responding and reacting?
That's powerful. Powerful. I love that story. You actually had me looking at the imagery, right? This lady and everything. It was pretty cool. So thank you for that story. I want to share one video with you, ladies. And this is happening. So we need everybody in Atlanta. Take a look.
The city never sleeps, and neither do the dreamers who build its pulse. From every corner of the globe they come. Visionaries, creators, leaders, each carrying a spark ready to ignite the world. This is not an event. It's a revolution of rhythm and reason. A symphony of minds. A movement of momentum. Sifu Rafael, Lancelot, together they set the stage for brilliance. This is the NYC experience. Mastermind, light up the city. They coming from the east, coming from the west. Knowledge on deck, put the truth to the test. Leaders in motion, hearts in sync. Dropping wisdom so deep it'll make you think. They bring stories, sweat and flame. Different faces, one shared name. Elevation, that's the sound. NYC experience, mastermind, where purpose is found.
Woo. Fun times, fun times. I got to tell you, ladies, what an incredible topic. Thank you so much for being here. And Scott, land safely. And I got to tell you, the power of words define who we become. Because when we think negatively, we do negatively. I love the princess story. Thank you for sharing it. And
You're welcome.
the beauty of that story, and you said it's a children's story, but it's actually an adult story, probably more so than children's, because it's the beauty that you see when no one else sees it. Now, somebody may see weeds, but I see life, right? And yes, the weeds are going to kill the beautiful flowers and so forth, but there's life in that. Yeah, we're not going to go planting weeds in our garden. We have to handle them, but the weeds are there for a reason. And when we can see that everything has a purpose, then we can see the beauty in everything. Ladies, I'm going to give you a chance to tell us how people can find you. And why don't we start with you, Amy? You have about 45 seconds. And Listen, everybody, before she even tells you need to go find her and connect with her, you have to go find her and connect with her.
Oh, goodness, Sifu, thank you so very much. I am all over everywhere. I travel the world doing what I do. So you can either see me in person as you find me either in LinkedIn or on Facebook. Those are my primary social media platforms where most of my events are posted, or simply look my name up online. I've got a web page that you can go and see some of the greatness that I've been so blessed to be able to serve and pour into the world in this powerful space of leadership. And I'm humbled to be here with these rock stars. So thank you.
Appreciate you. Bethany, you're up.
I'm Bethany Stone, and you can find me on social platforms, Bethany Stone, or Thriving by Nature with Bethany. I have a podcast on YouTube, and I don't really talk about it very much because it is just me talking, and I talk about life skills because I teach life skills to develop you as a human, to build your foundation, to be successful as a leader and in life. And that is where I'm at.
Love it, love it. Make sure you connect with her as well. I'm pretty easy to find, SifuRafael.com. Can't get any easier than that. Also, the thing for me is, how can I help you? My mission in life, what God has put in my heart and mind, is to help as many people as I can. So that whether it's through communication, leadership, or anything like that. And if you ever want to get on a stage, I create them. So let's do that. Everybody, God bless you. Have a blessed day. And listen, join us in person or join us virtually. But don't stay on the sidelines, because you never learn from the sidelines. One last thing, and I know we're talking about communication. The more I talk, the less I learn. The more I listen, the more I learn. God bless you.
Thank you.